Hi guys, and happy Thursday. Melanie here. I'll be teaching you today. How are you all doing? It's a bit of a hot one out there. The sun's come back out. Summer weather is back and rolling. Okay, so Thursday, what are we going to do today? So we're going to do a bit of grammar review. Now, I know we didn't do too much grammar this week because it's been a bit of a funny week. So when I say grammar review, it'll be kind of like teaching you some, well, I guess it's what we learned on Tuesday, future simple. So we might be familiar with it. So we'll work on that. Maybe we'll work on models as well, which is, well, we'll get into that in just a little bit. And we're going to have a reading article with our favorite Guardian paper. And we might do a little bit of discussion on war if we have time. And then for our elective, we have a listening exercise. Okay, guys, so are you ready? Let's get started. Okay, so I think we're going to start off. All right, so I'd like you to grab these two sheets today. So we got this one that has all of these little circles and big circles on it. And then we have one with the handy dandy graph up here. Okay, so let's begin. The future tense. The future tense. So we are learning about future simple once again. Okay, so, all right, and essentially we are talking about simple future. Simple future, It's pretty much as simple as it sounds. Okay, now there are three different types of future tense we can use. So we have simple future, which we are going to be learning about today. Future progressive, which is something like, I will be eating dinner at 6 o'clock tonight. Okay, now don't worry about this. We're not really going to learn about this today. This is for another day. So that's another kind of future progressive. And then we have future perfect. Okay, so maybe I shouldn't get into that because it might get a little bit confusing. This is the one we're going to focus on. So for example, I will eat dinner at 6 o'clock. So this is the kind of simple future. This is what we're going to focus on today. So this probably looks pretty familiar to what I talked about on Tuesday. So, of course, as a timeline, so here's now, this is the past, here is the future. So basically, this is an action. So think of this as an action. It's anything, the future can be anytime between now and like any point, like millions of years from now. All right, so that's when we use the simple future. Okay, and how do we use it? Okay, sorry, actually, no, I don't want to erase that. So, for example, actually, maybe I'm going to give you guys an example, a question that you can answer. So basically what we do is you have subject. So here's how you make the subject plus will plus verb. Okay, so for example, I will play hockey tomorrow. Okay. Now I'm going to ask you a question. All right, so here's the question. I'm going to erase this stuff up here. Okie dokie. So, answer my question. What will you do? What will you do after class today? After class today. Okay. What will you do after class today? I'd like you to type out an answer. Think about, what will I do after class is finished? So for me, for example, after class, I will have dinner with my husband. How about you? What will you do after class? There's no right or wrong answer, so don't worry about getting the answer wrong. So please type in your answers now because I'd love to read them out loud if possible. Go ahead. Okay. And remember, actually no, I'll leave that up here, but I'm gonna get rid of this little table. Okay. Now, I think you're all done with this. This is pretty simple. I'm just going to erase this, and I want to teach you the other form, well, which you might already know. So, this is, we'll call this one, oops, 1. And then, so we'll call it, just call it method 1 and method 2. What are you going to do after class? After class. Okay, so do you remember going to? So this is the exact same meaning as will. There is pretty much no difference between these two questions. If you remember from Monday, will is a little bit more polite or formal and is especially good in writing. Going to is more casual. So maybe, especially when you use it with your friends. So typically it doesn't really matter which one you use to respond to. If you're in doubt and you're talking to someone you don't know, maybe this is a little bit more polite. Okay, so what are you going to do after class today? After class today, I am going to have dinner with my husband. So you answer it pretty much the same way that you would this question. So again, feel free to type out your answer. You can use will or you can use be going to. Okay, so I'll teach you the formula for this. So subject plus be going to plus verb. So this is how you can make a future tense sentence using be going to. It's the same thing with will. So for example, I am going to play basketball. Not really, I don't actually play basketball. I don't play any sports, honestly. I'm kind of a lazy person. Okay, so now remember, with the be verb, we have to conjugate it according to the subject. So we say, I am, but if you have you, you say, you are, he, she, or it is, and we or they are. So just remember to be careful. If you use be going to, make sure you conjugate be according to the appropriate subject. Okie dokie? Okay, so I think we kind of got the idea here. If you are okay with all this, I think what I'd like to do is I would like to do a little bit of practice. We're not going to do every single question, but maybe we can do 5 questions, okay? So get your writing pens and your typey fingers ready, because we're going to take a look at this, and I'm going to erase this in 3, 2, 1. Gone. So remember, will, more polite, be going to, more casual. Just keep that in mind, because it could, or it might not be on your quiz. So yeah, just something to remember. If you have any questions during the class, by the way, let me know and I'd be happy to answer them for you. All right. Okay, so let's do it. Number 1, I blank to do my homework tomorrow. Okay, so the instructions here say put this into future tense using will. So I want you to use will for this sentence. Can you type out the correct sentence for me, please? So how do you turn this into future tense? Go ahead and write out your answers now. Okay, and I will write number 2. Well, I guess we blank to ride the bus to work next week. I'm not going to write out next week because I'm lazy. Okay, and once again, I want you to try using will, okay? Can you please write this sentence using will? Go ahead. And okay, we'll do one more for will. We'll do one last one. Okay. He to eat roast beef. Roast beef, yummy. Sounds like a nice big dinner. Lucky him. Okay, do we have any answers? Let's see. Oh, we had someone said, I will do my homework. Very good, that is correct. I will do my homework tomorrow. All right, and we have an answer for number 2. I guess we will. Nice, I guess we will ride, we will do, we will ride, we will ride the bus to work next week. And number 3, yes, very good. He will eat roast beef. Now, be careful. Make sure you get rid of to. Don't say he will to eat roast beef. That does not sound good. We don't say that in English. He will eat roast beef. Okay. Good stuff, guys. Good stuff. Okie doke. Now, I would like to move on to this section down here, and we're going to use going to. Okay, so it's going to get a little bit trickier. Leveling up, guys. But don't worry, you're smart. I know you can handle it. Okay, and get rid of that. Get rid of this. Okay, what should we do? All right, let's do number 1 for part 2. Remember, this is be going to. So I want you to use this future tense, okay? So let's say no more will. Say bye-bye to will. Okay, so number 1, Jess and Billy blank, blank, blank to be roommates. Oh, okay. So what do you think? What is the answer? Any thoughts, guys? All right, don't rush all at once. So feel free and type in your answer for number 1. Number 2, it blank to be sunny today. All right, and let's do number 3 as well. Yuki something to come to the movie with us. Woohoo! The movie with us. Okay. Now, what do you think, guys? What are the answer? Remember, be careful of how we conjugate these verbs, all right? So the answers are going to be a little bit different according to who the subject is. All right, and I'm going to do one more. Let's do number 4. Actually, let's do number 5. Number 5. Let's do number 5. This weekend. We to study for the Spanish test on Monday. Ooh, that's what I'm going to be doing too. This weekend, I am going to be studying, not for a test, but for school. All right, and I see we have an answer. Jess and Billy are going. Yes, are going to. Sorry, they already have 2 written down, I noticed, so I guess all you have to write down is be going. All right, so Jess and Billy are going to, because Jess and Billy, so we have to say are, there are 2 people. And we have an answer for number 2, nice. It is going to be sunny today. Yes, indeed it is. It is going to be sunny today. Excellent, excellent. And we have an answer for number 3. Yuki is going to come to the movie with us. Same as number 2 because it's 3rd person singular. Yuki is going. All right. This weekend no answer yet. Okay, so it is not singular, it is plural. So I am going to, you are going to, he, she, it is going to. We are going to study this weekend. We are going to study this weekend for the Spanish test. Okay, excellent, nice. Okay, good job, guys. Now, what I would like you to do is, I would like you guys to try to make 2 sentences in the future tense. Do you think you could do that? I want you to write out 2 sentences of your own. It can be about anything. It could be about you or your friends or a movie character. Just make sure it's future tense, okay? So I'm going to erase this. Okay. Oh man, that is a lot of black marking on there. Okay, let's get rid of that. Okay. Get rid of all this. Okay, much better. Now, all right, so like I said, I want you to make 2 of your own examples. So please make 2 of your own simple future sentences. So if possible, I'd like you to make 1 sentence that uses will. And for this next sentence, I want you to make your own sentence that is be going to, okay? And remember, this is going to be conjugated according to your subject, okay? So I want you to try and think of 2 sentences, 1 with will, 1 with be going to. So I'm going to give you an example. Here's my example. Let's think of someone famous. Oh, okay. I was just thinking about this. So Harry Potter will become the greatest wizard ever. I used to really love this book series when I was younger, and I was kind of thinking about it yesterday. All right, so that is my example sentence. What about your example sentence? And be going to, Let me think of another good example sentence. All right. All right, let's see. Ron Weasley, who is Harry Potter's best friend. Ron Weasley is going to be an okay wizard. That's not very nice, I guess. I don't know. So Harry Potter's going to be a great, powerful wizard. Ronald Weasley, he's going to be an okay wizard. All right. And as you notice, Ron Weasley, third person. So I said Ron Weasley is going to. Okay. So don't be shy. Type out your sentences if you have any ideas. I would love to see your example sentences. I could read them out. And it's good practice. Okay, so I'll give you a couple minutes to type it out. I'm just gonna set up for our next activity, if you'll pardon me. Okay. And I think I need some water as well. Let's see. And let's take a look at this. And okay. No responses? No sentences yet? No, I was hoping to see a couple sentences. Okay. Well, if you don't have any sentences, that's okay. We can move on. Okay, so we're going to say bye-bye to this. We're done with this sheet for now. And I'd just like to go over this pretty quickly, just like a little, just for interest's sake. We get rid of all this, so we don't need this anymore. Bye-bye, Will. And get rid of that. So no more Harry Potter. No more Ronald Weasley. Okay. All right. So, like I said, future simple. Future simple basically has two ways that it can be. Like we have will, and we have be going to. Okay, so I talked about how the main difference is this one is a little more formal, and this one is more casual, like something you use with your friends. And I mentioned how these two can usually be switched around, and that is usually true. However, there are times when it might be better to use will, and other times when it is better to use be going to. All right, so will is very good to use for future predictions. Future predictions. Do you remember this word, predictions? It's when you say, this is going to happen in the future. So, for example, climate change is going to get worse. That's a prediction. It's going to get hotter. That is a prediction, and probably will come true. It can also be used for things we don't know. It might not be true. For example, Vancouver's hockey team, the Canucks, will win the Stanley Cup next year. That's another prediction. Maybe it won't come true though. Okay, so for example, the Vancouver Canucks, they are a very famous hockey team in Canada, will win next year. So this is an example of a prediction. And it's also good for future conditionals. Future conditionals. So what does that mean? I'll give you an example. If it doesn't rain next week, I will go camping. So if something does or doesn't happen, this other thing will happen. So if it doesn't rain next week, I will go camping. I will go camping. Okay, so these are times when it might be better to use will. Now, when is it better to use be going to? So it's good to use be going to when you're talking about plans and intentions. So let's say, for example, my family and I are going to go to Hawaii on vacation. So my family and I are going to go on vacation to Hawaii. So this is a plan that we made a while ago and an intention. This is something that definitely is going to happen. And it can also be used for future predictions like will. So you can also use this for future predictions. Maybe I should have written that first. Future predictions. So, for example, the Vancouver Canucks are going to win. The Vancouver Canucks are going to win next year. Going to win next year. All right. So basically, it's this similar. So I suppose these can both be used for future predictions. I'm sorry. There is one I forgot for will. So I'm going to get rid of future predictions here for now, just because I want to make a bit more room. But you can use will for future predictions. I forgot to mention promises, offers, or requests. So for example, maybe your friend is asking, hey, I really need some help. Can you give me some money? And then you're like, yeah, okay. I will give you some money. I will give you some money. So, because you're a very nice friend and your friend needs help with their rent. So this is after a friend has asked you for money. Okay, so that's all I really wanted to touch on. So don't worry if you don't have this down 100%. This is just something I kind of wanted to let you guys know about. Okie dokie, guys, so we can put this away now. We are all done with that. And let's see. Now, okay, model verbs. Shall we do this? I think we'll go on to this actually. So let's do this here. So this is the one that says present simple or simple future. So this will be a bit of a challenging one. Let's see how we can do it. All right, so I'm gonna get rid of this. Get rid of all that. Do you think the Canucks will win next year, guys? What do you think? Do you think the Canucks are ever going to win? Sometimes I don't know. They're a strong hockey team, but they don't have very much luck when it comes to winning the Stanley Cup. Oh well, maybe one day they'll have their day. Okay. Now, so here, what you're going to do is you're going to put the verb either into present simple or future simple, or simple future tense, sorry. So, okay, present simple tense is pretty simple. So for example, I eat hamburgers. This is the present simple tense. When you learn English, this is probably one of the first verb tenses you use. So basically, it's asking, are you going to put this or are you going to put future simple? So let's take a look. Number one, let's do number one together. All right, I'll call you when I arrive at my hotel. Okay, so here we can either say, I will call you when I will arrive, or you can say, I will call you when I arrive. Which one do you think it is? This is a little bit of a maybe a bit of a tricky one, because I'll give you a hint. There's a little hint here. So do you think you're going to use future tense here, or are you going to use the present tense? So go ahead and type out your answers. Let me know. I'm going to prepare question number 2 in the meantime. He blank text you as soon as he's on the bus. Okay, so here, are we going to say he will text you or he text you? So are we going to use the simple future or the simple present tense? What do you guys think? So type in your answers for number 2 as well. Would be absolutely lovely. And number 3. All right. Let's eat dinner when John something here. So when John will get here or when John gets here. What do you guys think the answer could be? All right, so here, I don't see any responses yet, but the answer is, I'll call you when I arrive. And the reason why we say this is we actually already have a future tense. I will. So this is a contraction, I'll. Because remember, we're lazy in English. We like to shorten our words. So I will becomes I'll. So I'll call you when I arrive. So first, this action happens after is the phone call. So this here we already have future tense, so we don't have to have 2 future tenses. All right, and how about number 2? Any thoughts? All right, I see somebody said, he will text you. Very good. He will text you as soon as he gets on the bus. You do want to use future tense. So first, he gets on the bus, then he texts you. So this is the action that we're going to use after. Okay. Now, what about this one? This one might be a little bit tricky. This isn't a rule I quite taught you guys. So now think about which action is going to happen first. John getting here or everyone eating dinner? Which action is going to come first? The action that comes first does not need to have future tense. So what do you guys think? Any thoughts? So, I was hoping you will say, when John gets here. When John gets here, let's eat dinner. So I know this doesn't quite look like a future tense. But basically, this is something that's going to happen in the future, like in the near future. So for example, let's go to the movies. It's a suggestion. Or let's have dinner together tonight. So instead of using future tense, we're having this let's here. So you don't need to have future tense if you have something that says let's. Okay. Maybe we'll do a couple more and then we can move on. How are we doing, everybody? Any questions so far? We doing okay? Okay, let's get rid of that. And let's get rid of this. Okay. Now, let's see. So now, number 4. Let's do number 4. Julie, boink, late. Be late tomorrow. So, okay. So, here we have 2 things happening. Julie being late, and then me booking or reserving a table at the restaurant. So it says, I have booked a table at a restaurant for 10 p.m. So this already happened. I booked this already. Maybe I did it 2 hours ago. I gave the restaurant a call. Hey guys, can I book a table for 6 at 10 o'clock? So the booking a table, that's already happened. It's in the past. Tomorrow, Julie, late. So that hasn't happened yet. So what do you think it's going to be? So Julie is late tomorrow, or Julie will be, or you could even say is going to be. Is going to be. It doesn't matter which one you will be or is going to be. You can use either one. Is it going to be simple present or simple future? Let me know your answers below. And let's do number 5. As soon as I be able to, I'm not going to write the rest out because you do have this sheet, so I don't want to spend too much time writing out all these sentences. All right. As soon as I be able to, so is it as soon as I am able to, or as soon as I will be able to? As soon as I be able to, I'm going to get a new job. Oh, so we already have a future tense in there. So do we need a second future tense? What do you guys think? As soon as I am able to, I am going to get a new job. As soon as I will be able to, I am going to get a new job. Which one do you think is correct? Okay, I think we could maybe do one more, definitely at least. Number 6. Please wait here until the nurse call you. Okay, so that could be a tricky one. What do you guys think? Please wait here until the nurse will call you. Please wait here until the nurse calls you. So what do you think? Is it going to be present simple or future simple? Writing your answers now. All right, I see somebody wrote in an answer for number 4. Yes, Julie is going to be late tomorrow. Good. Or Julie will be, is going to be late. Going to be. Or will be, it doesn't matter. Nice, good job. Okay, and someone wrote, as soon as I am able to. Very good. So, like I said, if you have future tense already, you don't need to add it in a second time. So, as soon as I am able to, I am going to get a new job. So, just one future tense is okay. Now, do we have any thoughts on this one? Any thoughts at all? Any ideas? please wait here until the nurse. Okay, so the answer I was hoping for was until the nurse calls you. So if you have something that says until, typically we are not going to use a future tense here. Okay, so I hope this is okay so far, guys. I'm just going to erase this. Get rid of all this stuff. Oh. All right. How are we doing? Let me just get rid of this. Okay. Now, should we do more of this or shall we do this? Okay, so I know we haven't really touched too much into models, but maybe we can try and give this a shot. Tomorrow, I think Alan's going to help review models, so if you don't quite get this today, don't worry about it, but we'll try and walk through some of this together. We're just gonna do like maybe 4 questions from here. So let's get rid of the future tense. Bye-bye, future tense. Okay, oof, and models. Okay, so for example, basically we have must and mustn't, which means must not. So for example, these are rules. When you are driving past a school, you must drive slowly. You don't have a choice. When we're in the library, you must not speak loudly. You must be quiet. So must is used for rules or laws. These are pretty intense and important. All right. And then we have have to or don't have to. Don't have to. So this is a little bit less intensity than must. So have to is stating something you need to do. So for example, this Sunday I have to finish some homework for my class. I don't have to finish it today, but I have to finish it by Sunday. So this is like necessity, something that you do need to do. And next we have should and shouldn't or should not. So should not gets shortened to shouldn't. This is used for advice. So for example, maybe I'm not feeling well, like I feel kind of dizzy and hot. And then you're gonna give me advice, oh Mel, maybe you should go see the doctor. You shouldn't go exercising and you shouldn't drink anything. You should go home and get some rest. So this is used for advice. And what else? And we have might. So this is expressing possibility. So for example, tomorrow I might see my friends. We might have a picnic in the park. Maybe we will, maybe we won't, but we might go to the park. And finally, we have can and can't. Now this I think is pretty obvious. You probably use this very often. So for example, I can swim pretty well, but I can't rock climb. My abdominal muscles are weak, so I can't rock climb. Okay, so that's a quick review, a quick run through of models. Again, don't worry too much. We're gonna go more into it tomorrow for review. So once again, just pull this out and we're gonna do a couple of questions together. Okie doke. Let's do number 1. And, oh, sorry, I forgot to mention, must is not only for rules, but it's also for speculation. So maybe, for example, I take a look at someone over here and he has really strong muscles. And I'm like, wow, that guy has huge muscles. He must exercise every day. So that's kind of speculating, like thinking like, oh, I'm pretty sure he exercises every day. He must exercise every day. So this can be used for like guessing and speculation. Okay, so let's do number 1. Rose and Ted. Blank, be good players. All right, so Rose and Ted, what do you think? Is it going to be must, have to, should, might, or can? What do you think? Which model are we going to use? So if you can, please type in your answers and think about which model is going to go here. And number 2. You blank pay to use the library. To use the library. It's free. Okay, so which model do you think you are going to use? So feel free, get your answers in now or never. Okay, and let's see. Number 3, I'm not sure where my wife is. She blank be at her dance class. Her dance class. Ooh, lucky her. All right. So, any thoughts about number 1? Anybody? Okay, no problem. So what the answer was supposed to be here is Rose and Ted must be good players because they have won hundreds of cups. So they've won so many trophies and cups. So they must be good players. Wow. And for this one, the answer was you don't have to pay for the library. You don't have to. Sorry, that was pretty awful. Yeah. You don't have to pay to use the library. Okay, so we're not expressing an explicit law or rules, but there is no need because the library is free, so you don't have to pay money. All right, and number 3, I'm not sure where my wife is at the moment. Where could she be? She might be at her dance class. So she might be at her dance class. Maybe, maybe not, I'm not sure. So that's why we use might, because we don't really know. There's a possibility that she's at her dance class. Okay, guys, I think we have time for 1 or 2 more questions before our break. So let's get rid of this, and let's get rid of that. And let's get rid of this one down here. Okay, so let's do number 4. And actually it looks like we are out of time, so never mind that. So, like I said, there will be more practice with these models tomorrow, so don't worry too much. If you like, feel free to do this on your own time at home. It's a good way to practice. Okay, guys, so now we're going to take a 10-minute break, and afterwards, I believe we are going to be doing our Guardian article, or it might be listening. Let me double check on that. Okay, guys, so we'll see you in 10 minutes, and have a great break. Bye-bye. Sorry, something got stuck. Oh, come on. Okay. Hi guys, and welcome back. Okay, hope you had a nice break. Got some water, did what you need to do. Okay, so what we're going to do now is we're going to do another Guardian article. Hip hip hooray. So let's take a look at today's title and what we are going to read. From Child Soldier. Okay, sorry, I didn't finish writing out the title. To Wildlife Ranger. Oh boy, what on earth could this be about? Okay, so we all know what a child is, I'm sure, little wee ones. Soldier, do you know what this is? What is a soldier? If you know what a soldier is, maybe you could type it out. Let me know. All right, but don't worry if you don't know. But a soldier is someone who fights. Usually they fight in an army, a navy, or an air force. But typically, not always, they are involved in war. So that's fights between two different groups of people. It can be within a nation or it can be between two nations. All right, so child soldier, that is a pretty sad situation. So that's not a very good looking soldier hat, but let's pretend it's a helmet. And he's got his scary gun. Don't make him mad. So this is someone who started off from a child soldier. So he's fighting in wars. But then it sounds like they become a wildlife ranger. So that sounds quite a bit better. So here he is in his wildlife ranger uniform. Woohoo! So what is a ranger? This is a word that might be new to you. Now, a ranger is somebody who helps protect parkland and wildlife. Wildlife being animals, essentially. So, you know, it could be tigers, you could have elephants, or even just birds. That's what wildlife is. So this is a guy, a wildlife ranger, and he protects animals, typically within a very big park, within parkland. So not a tiny park, but like a massive one. So we're going to learn about someone's story going from this to this. Pretty cool, hey? All right, let's begin. Now, all right, number one, this is a bit of a funny one because it says, please put all these animals in order from most endangered to least endangered. Now, all of these are pretty endangered. Now, do you know what endangered means? It's a good new word. Let's do new words. New words. New words. Endangered. Endangered. Okay, so this is an adjective. Excuse me. This word looks familiar. We may have learned it a couple weeks ago. Endangered means it might not exist in the future. So maybe, for example, it's hunted a lot, or its habitat is disappearing. So there are not many animals left. For example, I remember someone pointed out, I think it might have been Angela, she told me in Korea, tigers are endangered. There's not very many tigers left. So very few tigers in certain areas of the world. So that's what endangered means. Okay, so what do you guys think about all these? Giant panda. You know what a giant panda is, correct? Big bear, black and white, very cute, has black eyes. Giant panda. What do you think it is? Do you think it's endangered or not endangered? Type in your answers. Do you think it's endangered or not endangered? I'll give you the answer in just a moment. And what else do we have? We have Asian elephant. All right, so it's different from an African elephant actually. The Asian elephant has smaller ears. It's a bit smaller than the African elephant. So this is an Asian elephant with a very lopsided face. Asian elephant. And then, so an African elephant looks more like this. It has bigger ears. Maybe not that big, but fairly big ears. And this is an Asian elephant. So what do you think? Is an Asian elephant endangered or not endangered? What do you think? Type in your answers. And next we have mountain gorilla. Do you guys know what a gorilla is? They kind of look like this. Like they got very big brows and maybe like a very big head. And they're very buff. Woo! Here's the gorilla. Very big animals, and they kind of walk like this. Now these guys, they are usually in Africa. Gorillas, mountain gorillas. So what do you think? Do you think this is endangered or not endangered? Write out your answers below. And now we have orangutan. So it looks a little similar, a little bit like a gorilla, but maybe not as kind of angry looking. It's a bit hairier, and it's got very long arms. Here's its arms, and here's its feet. Okay, that was a very bad picture of an orangutan. I'm sorry, I tried. Orangutan, orangutan. So these are usually found in Southeast Asia, in Borneo. So like Malaysia, Indonesia. Same place where you could find Asian elephants actually. Oh yes, giant pandas, China predominantly. And finally we have tiger. I'm not going to draw another tiger, there's already a tiger up there. And let's see, someone has said giant pandas are endangered. And yes, they actually are endangered. Endangered, for sure, absolutely. They are making a comeback. Their numbers are getting better in China from what I've heard though. Asian elephant. And someone said endangered. Kind of, but technically it's listed as a species of, I think it's listed as threatened. So not quite endangered, but if we don't do something to protect their habitat, it could become endangered. But it's not as endangered as some of these other species. Good try though, very good. And mountain gorilla, we saw someone said endangered. Yes, they are endangered. I'm just gonna put check marks if they're endangered. There are not very many of these animals left. They have a small habitat. They can only live on the mountains. So they are very much indeed endangered. And orangutan, someone said endangered. Yes, unfortunately, they are endangered too. Their home in Borneo's, the trees are getting chopped down, so they're losing the forest. So if we don't do something soon, they're going to go extinct. Do you guys remember this word, extinct? So when an animal goes extinct, that means it is no longer alive. So the example, the dodo, remember that big fat flightless bird? Extinct. There are no more of those animals alive in the world anymore. So unfortunately, animals like these, if we don't do something soon, they're going to go extinct. And finally, tigers. I don't see an answer. It depends on the species of tiger, I think. Most tigers around the world though, yes, they are endangered for sure. Okay, good stuff, guys. All right, now we got some key animals. We learned about some cool new animals today. All right, so now we're gonna go over to keywords. So please go to number 2. I think you know what to do here. So if you like, please take a look at the sentences. So let's do number 1. And animals and birds that live in natural conditions are known as, and what do you think it is? So I want you to go to paragraph number 1. See if you can find a word that belongs here, okay? We've got corruption, militia, park ranger, wildlife, and poacher. So go ahead and feel free to write out the answer if you know it. I'm gonna get rid of all these crazy animals in the meantime. We'll say goodbye to our Asian elephant and our giant panda, and farewell to our orangutan, and our mountain gorilla too. And I don't think we need these animals anymore. Ugh. Okay, so that's pretty much all the animals gone. All right, so let's look at our keywords. We have corruption. This is a good word. I'll explain more of it later. Militia, not a word we hear too often. Park ranger, it's a word, this is a word you hear somewhat often in Canada because we do have a lot of these. Fun fact, I wanted to be a park ranger when I was a teenager. Wildlife. And finally, we have poacher. Okay, so those are our 5 words. So number 1, we're going to find it in paragraph 1. Number 2, also in paragraph 1. Para 1. And number 3 is going to be in paragraph 2. Para 2. And number 4 is also going to be in paragraph 2. Okay, so I'm going to read out paragraph 1. And let's see which words we tick off, all right? So, get your listening ears ready. Here we go in 3, 2, 1. From child soldier to wildlife ranger. Rodrigue Tembo was forced to be a child soldier and saw his little brother die. Now, aged 41, he is still fighting. But today, he protects the extraordinary wildlife in the national parks of the Democratic Republic of Congo, or DRC, from armed militias. Okay. Oops. Okay, so wildlife and militia, those were the 2 words. So these 2 are going to be either militia and wildlife. So what do you think? Number 1, animals and birds that live in natural conditions are known as militia or wildlife. And number 2, a militia is a group of ordinary people who are trained to fight as soldiers. Or a wildlife is a group of people who are trained to fight as soldiers. What do you guys think? So please type in your answers for number 1 and for number 2 now. Go ahead. Let me just grab a drink in the meantime. Okay. All right, and any thoughts, guys? Don't be shy, don't be shy. Okay, I'll give you another moment to just type in the stuff. In the meantime, I think what I'm going to do is I'd like to do number 3 and number 4. Okay, so these are both in paragraph number 2. So I'm going to read paragraph 2 out now. Here we go. It is very dangerous work. 160 park rangers have been killed protecting Virunga National Park from militias and poachers in the last 15 years. But Tembo is determined, despite the attacks he has suffered and the dangers of the job. Okay, so number 3, a poacher is someone who looks after a forest or piece of countryside, or a park ranger is someone who looks after a forest, or a piece of countryside. Finally, number 4. A poacher is someone who kills or catches animals illegally, or a park ranger is someone who captures and kills animals illegally. So what do you guys think? Okay, so someone wrote out for number 1. They wrote wildlife. Good, thank you. So animals and birds that live in natural conditions are known as wildlife. Remember that picture I drew of the tiger, the bird, the elephant? That is wildlife. And that means, yes, very good. Paragraph 2, a militia. A militia is a group of ordinary, normal people who are trained to fight as soldiers. Nice. Okay. So do we have any thoughts for number 3? All right. So someone wrote park ranger for number 3, and that is good. A park ranger is someone who looks after a forest or a piece of land. And typically they can help protect this wildlife. So that means number 4 is going to be a poacher. A poacher. So a poacher is basically someone who kills or catches wildlife illegally. Poacher, that's a good word. So for example, you probably all know about rhinoceroses, right? Like, yeah, they're these animals in Africa. So what a poacher will unfortunately do is that they will shoot the rhinoceros. So they kill the rhinoceros and then they take the horn out and then they sell it for money. So that is what poaching is. Typically, you're killing an animal so you can sell its parts for money. So yeah, not very good stuff. It's sad. Poor rhino. Let's erase that. Okay, so that means number 5, there's only one option. Number 5 is our lovely, beautiful corruption. Corruption. And what does corruption mean? Corruption is dishonest or illegal behavior. Do you remember what illegal means? Against the law. So basically illegal behavior by officials or people in power. So especially when they accept money in exchange for doing things for other people. So for corruption, this unfortunately can be very common in some countries' governments. So sometimes people in power in the government, they want more money. So they do things for other people in order to get more money. So yeah, this is a bit of a touchy subject. I won't go too much into it, but it is a good word to know in English. Okay guys, so that's half the words done. Woohoo! All right, we got park ranger, we know wildlife, militia, corruption, and poacher. All right, so we'll get rid of all that. And we got 5 more words to go. So, what other 5 words do we have? Ooh, spectacular. That's a good word. Spectacular. I like using this word. Bush. And or. Rebel. And warden. Okay, let's see. So our rebel, sorry, this can be a noun or it can be a verb. But I think it's using the noun version today. All right, so we have number 6. This is going to be paragraph 5. Para 5. Number 7. Paragraph 6. And number 8. Paragraph 6. Number 9, paragraph 10. And number 10 is also paragraph 10. Okay, so I think what I'm going to do, so that we don't make it too easy for number 6, is I'm going to read paragraph 5 and paragraph 6 out and see which 3 words you can get from this list, okay? So here we go, paragraph 5. And that's going to be this little short paragraph right here. Here we go, in 3, 2, 1. Tembo survived, but after more death threats from poachers, armed rebels, and illegal miners, he moved to Pemba National Park. Even there, he has to live apart from his family for their safety. Paragraph 6. Tembo's love of the natural world began when he was a child. Since I was very young, I really wanted to become part of the Wildlife Authority of the Congo. The best moments in this dangerous job are in the bush, he says. Many times as a chief warden, you take your rangers on patrol. You look at tracks and follow wildlife, but every time you do that, you are amazed at the beauty of the wildlife of Congo. Okay, so we had 3 words. We had bush, rebel, and warden. So these were the 3 words that popped up. So, number 6, a blank is someone who tries to remove a government or leader using violence. Is it a bush, a rebel, or a warden? In number 7, in hot parts of the world, like Australia and African, the blank consists of areas that are not used for agriculture. They are usually far from cities and have very few people. Is that the bush, the rebel, or the warden? And number 8, a blank is someone who is responsible for a particular place. A rebel, a bush, or a warden? So type out your answers now, guys. And if you need to look back at paragraph 5 and 6, that's totally fine. Go ahead. Excuse me, sorry. Something in my throat there. Wash that away, much better. Okay, so in the meantime, I think I'm going to read out paragraph 10 and see if you guys can tell which words are popping up there. So I'm gonna hop to paragraph 10 now. So here we go. This second to last one here. In 3, 2, 1. Tembo joined the DRC Wildlife Authority in 2003, but his work in Pemba is very difficult. The park covers 1.75 million hectares and contains spectacular wildlife, including leopards. But there are also emerald, gold, and coltan, a very valuable ore used in making electronics, which attract illegal mining. Okay, guys, so for number 9, if something is blank, it is very impressive. If something is spectacular, it is very impressive. Or if something is ore, it's very impressive. And number 10, blank is rock or earth from which you can get metal. Is it spectacular or is it ore? All right, I'm starting to see answers coming in for number 6. And someone wrote rebel for number 6. Very good. Rebel. Okay. This is a good word, actually. So yeah, a rebel is someone who tries to remove a government leader, often using violence. So there is that type of rebel, but there's also non-violent rebels. It can be people who want to go against society's rules. So for example, my older sister, when she was growing up, she was a rebel. She didn't like to listen to my parents. She dyed her hair crazy colors. She listened to different music. She wore funky clothing. She didn't care what society thought of her, or she didn't care what teachers told her. She was a rebel. So there's that kind of rebel. It's not always a bad thing. They're not always violent. In this story, though, they are violent. They don't want the government to succeed. They want to overthrow the government. Okay, so number 6 was rebel. What about number 7? All right, someone said bush. Thank you. Good. So the answer is indeed bush. Okay, so when we hear the word bush, bushy bush, we might think of this. This is a bush, yes. But we're not really referring just to one bush. We're referring to the wild, and often there's very few people. It's far from the city. So when we talk about the bush, we're talking about a very rural area. And like this question says, usually this term is used more like in Africa and Australia. But if you do say it here in Canada, some people say, oh yeah, I go camping out in the bush all the time. That means you're not literally camping in the bush. No, you're camping in the wild. That's what it means. You're camping far from the city. So sometimes we say this word, the bush. Okay, and that means number 8 is indeed warden. I think here the term they used was park warden. So it's kind of similar to park ranger, but it refers to someone, they don't exactly own the land, but they take care of the land. So let's say, for example, I'm trying to think of a park where there's a warden. I don't think Stanley Park has a warden. Maybe, maybe not. But they would take care of the park, make sure everything's going okay, keep it clean. This isn't a word I hear super often in English, mind you. I hear ranger a lot more often. All right, and here, did we get any answers? Yes, spectacular. Good, thanks. So someone wrote, spectacular. If something is spectacular, it is very impressive. All right. Yes, spectacular. For example, Vancouver's scenery is spectacular. We've got the mountains and the ocean and like these skyscrapers. It really is quite spectacular, especially in the winter when you have the snow covering the mountains. Spectacular scenery. Okay, and that means number 10 is indeed ore. All right, or you can say ores plural. So ores are basically rock or earth, which you can get metal. So typically when we're talking about ores, it's something that you can sell for money. All right, so that's it. These are our words. Good job, everybody. If you have any questions about this vocabulary, you can let me know, and I can try to make a few more examples. I've just written down a few words that have popped up in here that I think are relatively useful that people use often. So again, don't worry about memorizing every single word that pops up here, please. It's just to help you understand the article. All right, so now we're gonna move on to number 3, finding the information. So look, I want you to read over these questions while I prepare the board. So we're gonna get rid of all this. No more camping in the bush. I usually camp at a provincial campground anyway, because I'm too scared to camp in the bush. I'm scared of the bears and the cougars. All right. So number 3, find the info. Whoop, boop, boop, boop. Find the info, that's short for information. Okay, let's see. Number 1, where is Virunga National Park? Okay, where is Virunga National Park? Okay, so here it's asking probably which country this park is. So when you hear this word, Virunga National Park, listen for the name of the country. I'll give you a hint. This story is focused in Africa, the continent of Africa. There are many countries in Africa though, so listen closely to see where in Africa this park is. Number 2, all right. How long did Rodrigue Tembo, so this is the name of our child soldier to wildlife ranger, spend in jail? So how long did he spend in jail or prison? So prison is another word. So if you hear this word, if you hear jail or prison, Listen for how long, like how many days or how many months, how many years. Who knows how long he's been in there? All right, and number 3. How many hippos? Oh, that's cute. How many hippos? How many hippos are there in Virunga National Park? I'm just going to say Virunga for short. So this is the key word I want you to look for. When you hear the word hippos, try to see how many. What number do they say? 100? 1,000? 5 million? Who knows? Number 4. Okay, how big is Pemba National Park? Pemba National Park. Okay, so here we're thinking about how big this park is. So when you hear the name of this park, listen closely. How many square kilometers or kilometers squared? So you're probably going to hear me say something something square kilometers or kilometers squared. Square kilometers. Whoosh. So when you hear that, so keep an ear out for that. All right, and number 5. So I'm going to write down number 5 later. How many illegal miners has Tembo removed from Pemba National Park? Okay, so you know what illegal means. Do you know what a miner is? So a miner is someone who is going to go, usually they go underground, and they try to get valuable ores. Remember that ores like gold, diamond, silver, copper. So this is a miner. So they are people who take things from the ground, but they're illegal apparently. So how many illegal miners has Tembo removed from Pemba National Park? So when you hear the word illegal miner, think about how many, okay? And number 6, how many park rangers are there in Pemba National Park? Okay, so here's another number. How many park rangers? Okay, guys, so these are the questions I want you to try to answer while we read the story, okay? So I'm going to read the story once, and I would like you to underline any information you think will help you answer these questions, okay? Are you ready? Here we go. In 3, 2, 1. From child soldier to wildlife ranger. All right. Rodrigue Tembo was forced to be a child soldier and saw his little brother die. Now aged 41, he is still fighting, but today he protects the extraordinary wildlife in the national parks of the Democratic Republic of Congo, the DRC, from armed militias. It is very dangerous work. 160 park rangers have been killed protecting Virunga National Park from militias and poachers in the last 15 years. But Tembo is determined, despite the attacks he has suffered and the dangers of the job. It is really worth it, he said. I know it is among the most dangerous work in DRC, but I am working to help future generations. He wants to protect the rainforests and the grasslands of Congo's parks and the endangered mountain gorillas, lions, and elephants that live there. Tembo has suffered in his fight against corruption that is part of the destruction. In 2013, just after stopping an oil-related development, he was arrested. I was tortured and put in jail for 17 days, he said. That was a really difficult time for me and my family because we didn't know if I was going to die in prison or not. Tembo survived, but after more death threats from poachers, armed rebels, and illegal miners, he moved to Pemba National Park. Even there, he has to live apart from his family for their safety. Tembo's love of the natural world began when he was a child. Since I was very young, I really wanted to become a part of the Wildlife Authority of Congo. The best moments in this dangerous job are in the bush, he says. Many times as a chief warden, you take your rangers on patrol. You look at tracks and you follow wildlife, but every time you do that, you are amused by the beauty of the wildlife of Congo. Tembo is proud of his success. We saw the population of hippos in Virunga increase from 500 to 1,700 hippos in 3 to 4 years. That was really important for me. In Pemba in 2015, we only had 54 zebra. We now have 72. We had no elephants inside the park, but now we have 68. When he was a child, Tembo loved wildlife and wanted to help his country, but his life changed at the age of 14. An armed group tricked me and said they were going to take me to university, he says, but I had to become a child soldier. I stayed there for 2 years. I was then able to go home during some holidays, Tembo says. I had to tell my mother that my younger brother had been killed in front of my eyes. My mother fought really hard. She really fought to try to stop me to having to return, and I was able to escape. My mother then did everything she could to pay for my schooling. Tembo joined the DRC Wildlife Authority in 2003, but his work in Pemba is difficult. This is number 4. Pemba Park covers 1.75 million hectares and contains spectacular wildlife, including leopards. But there are also gold, emerald, and coltan, a highly valuable ore used in electronics, which attract illegal mining. Question number 5. Tembo has already closed down 8 coltan mines and removed 1,400 miners. There is also a murderous militia in the park, so there is an urgent need for more resources. Tembo has just 160 rangers, far fewer than the 400 he needs, and just 1 patrol truck. But Tembo is not ready to stop fighting. It is not the time to do something else. When we see how many groups are trying to destroy our protected areas, we cannot stop now. I also need to make sure a new generation of young Congolese are here to continue the fight. Nice, that was a pretty inspirational story, I think. What did you think of that, guys? All right, so now I'd like you to try and answer these questions as best as you can. So let's do number 1 first. So, where is Virunga National Park? Where is it? I believe this was in paragraph 1. You can find the answer in paragraph 1. Today, he protects the extraordinary wildlife in the national parks of the Democratic Republic of Congo from armed militias. Okay, so which country is this national park in? Please type in your answers now. And let's do number 2. How long did Tembo spend in jail? This was in paragraph number 4. Paragraph 4. Okay. I was tortured and put in jail for 17 days, he said. That was a really difficult time for me and my family. All right, so type in your answers. You can find it in paragraph 4. And number 3, how many hippos are there in Virunga? All right, so this is going to be paragraph number 7. 7, and not 7 hippos. Whoops, sorry. Wrong one. So this is in paragraph 7. Para 7. Tembo is proud of his success. We saw the population of hippos in Virunga increase from 500 to 1,700 in 3 to 4 years. So get your answers in. It's now or never. And number 4, how big is Pemba National Park? Okay, this came a bit later in the story. So, and it's not square kilometers. I totally messed that up. It's something else. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to mislead you. Look for the term hectares. So I couldn't tell you how large this is, but I think it's a fairly large area. So this is going to be in paragraph 10. Okay, so you can find the answer in paragraph number 10. And I'm starting to see some answers coming in now. So someone said, the Democratic Republic of Congo. Very good. The Democratic Republic of Congo. So sometimes this is called the DRC. Okay, nice, good job. And we have an answer for number 2. Someone said 17 years. Nice, thank you very much. 17 years. Oh, sorry, no, not years, sorry, days. I misread that, I'm sorry. 17 days. My bad, sorry. 17 days, not years. So he spent 17 days in prison. Nice. And how many hippos? Someone said 1,700. Good. Or 1,700. Okay, I'm going to write that here. So we're running out of space. 1,700 hippos. Nice. All right. So doing good, doing good. I'm just going to get rid of some of these guys up here so we have more writing space. Well done. Okay, and I'm going to write number 5 in the meantime. Number 5. Number 5 is alive. How many illegal miners? Remember what a miner is, right? How many illegal miners did Tembo remove? Did Tembo remove? Okay, and this, I believe, is going to be in paragraph number 10. Also paragraph 10. Okay, and number 6. How many park rangers? How many park rangers in Pemba National Park? So I'm making this really short again, sorry. This is going to be paragraph 11. All right, and we got an answer for number 4. How big is Pemba National Park? 1.75 million hectares. 1.75 million hectares. So this is a very massive park. This is a massive, huge park. It's, okay, I can't describe how huge it is, but it's big. It's probably bigger than some countries for all we know. Okay, so number 5, how many illegal miners did Tembo remove? That was in paragraph 10. Okay. But there are also gold, emeralds, and coltan, a highly valuable ore used in electronics, which attract illegal mining. Tembo has already closed down 8 coltan mines and removed 1,400 miners. So type in your answer for number 5. And number 6, how many park rangers in Pemba National Park? There is also a murderous militia in the park, so there is an urgent need for more resources. Tembo has just 160 rangers, far fewer than the 400 he needs, and just 1 patrol truck. All right, so how many rangers does he have right now? Type in your answers, don't be shy. It's now or never, ladies and gentlemen. Let's get rid of number 4 because we don't need it anymore. Okay, and I don't think we need that anymore. Okay, and no more hippos. Bye-bye, hippos. That's short for hippopotamus, by the way. The big chunky animals that live in the water, and they get very angry if you disturb them. Okay. Okay, so I see an answer for number 5. 1,400. Nice. 1,400 illegal miners. Another way to say this is 1,400. You can say 1,400 or 1,400. Doesn't matter. Nice. And last one, how many park rangers? So somebody said 160. Very good. There are 160 park rangers, but they need more than that. How many do they need? He needs 400 rangers, so he doesn't even have half of what he needs. That's pretty sad. Must be very hard work for poor Tembo to do. Okay, so we have just about 4 minutes left. So we don't have much time to finish this, unfortunately, but that is a-okay. All right. So I am thinking, what can we do for the next 4 minutes? Maybe let's just do a little bit of number 5. Let's do chunks, because this we could probably do relatively quickly, I think. Okay, so I'm going to get rid of this. All right, so that's it for that guy. So we're gonna do part 5, chunks. Do you know what chunks are? Chunks mean like pieces of something. For example, I ate a chunk of chocolate this morning because I'm weird. Okay, so number 1, we have 15 last in years the. So what you're going to have to do is try to put the words in the correct order. So I'm going to do number 1 for you. So here we go. Let's see. In is going to be the first one. Next, we're going to have the article in. The last is going to be next. In the last. And then this is an adjective, 15, and noun, years. In the last 15 years. So this is the correct answer. So that's what we have to do, is try to put everything in the right order. Okie doke? Think you can do that? I'm sure you can. You're smart. All right, so let's do number 2. Generations. Generations. Help to future. Okay, so if possible, it'd be better if you don't go back and read all this, but just try to think of grammatically which is correct. How do I make this sentence make grammatical sense? So, what do you think is the correct order? What's going to come first? And what's going to come next? And what's going to come after that and after that? All right, guys, so we are coming up to our second break. If we have time, maybe we can continue with this after the break. But we are going to do a listening exercise as well. So maybe what we'll do is we'll do the listening exercise. And if we have a lot of time, we can finish up with this towards the end of class. All right, good job so far, guys. So we're gonna have a 10-minute break and rest up, get some water, do your thing, and we'll see you in 10 minutes. See you soon. All right, guys, so I believe it's been fixed now. My apologies. Sorry, I had to step out there. Okay, let's try this again. All right, so let's go from number 1 because I don't think you could hear me, unfortunately. So, number 1, does your country have a lot of immigrants? So you guys do know what immigrants are, right? So immigrants are individuals who come from other countries. All right, guys, so I believe it's been fixed now. My apologies. Sorry about that. Okay, now we're good. All right, sorry about that. Ignore. All right, so immigrants. Basically, for example, people who might come from India or Japan or England to Canada. So Canada does have many immigrants from all sorts of different countries around the world, and it's pretty great. Now, what about your country? Does your country have a lot of immigrants? You could say yes, or you could say no. All right, I see a smiley face, so I'm going to assume that everything is A-okay. Excellent, hooray! Okay. So let me know about your country, if you have immigrants or not. And question number 2, is your country welcoming of immigrants? Now, welcoming, what does that mean? Basically, that means when immigrants come to, let's say for example, some folks come from, let's say Iran, for example, to Canada. If Canadians are welcoming, they'll be like, hey, yes, welcome to Canada. We're so happy to have you here, and we're gonna try and help you out. And like most Canadians, hopefully, they'll be nice and try to make friends. So Canadians, usually I think they are pretty welcoming to immigrants. I think for Canada, our immigration laws, it's not too difficult to immigrate to Canada in comparison to some countries. And so I do think Canada's relatively welcoming. We still do have some racism, unfortunately, so we still do have work to do. Canada's not perfect by any means. But overall, I think Canada is fairly welcoming to immigrants. What about your country? Do you think your country is welcoming to immigrants? Type out your comments and let me know. Okay, so let's call that the end of our warm-up session, but feel free to type out your answers at any time during the class though. I would like to read them out. Okay, so let's move on to key vocabulary. So these are some words that are going to pop up in the listening, and they're words that I would like you guys to kind of get an understanding of. Okay, so first, we have melting pot. So I kind of drew the melting pot earlier, right? So I don't think I'll explain it again, but a melting pot, it's essentially where everything melts into one thing and gets mixed together. So this is a very good image here. You can see all these different separate countries, and they just they go into this pot and they melt together, and you can see this big American flag at the bottom. So they all melted into one American flag. So that's a melting pot. And mosaic. All right, so I did explain this earlier as I kind of wanted to explain the title here. And here you can see the Canada flag. Oh, but wait, look closer. It's not just the Canada flag, it's many flags making up the Canada flag. Wow, that's a mosaic. It's a lot of tiny little pictures making up a larger picture. Okay, so we got those 2 big important words out of the way. And these are not words we use in everyday English, by the way, just sometimes. Now, immigrants. Okay, so I did, once again, that's another word that I already did go over, so I'm not going to write it out. If you want me to explain any of these words again, though, do let me know. I can give you more definitions, I can give example sentences. Okie doke. And let's see, which one's which? Okay, so this is, get rid of that little streaky mark there. This is an expression in English. Which one's which? All right, so it's kind of similar to saying, is it this one or is it this one? Okay, so I'm going to give you an example. All right, so here's a flag, and here is another flag. Okay, one of these flags is a Canadian flag, and one of these flags is a Japanese flag. But which one's which? Which one is the Canadian flag? Which one is the Japanese flag? Which one's which? So that's what which one's which means. So it's not something we use all the time, but it is something you hear in spoken English, especially like casual spoken English. Okie dokie. And all right, next, what do we have? As far as I blank. Okay, now many words can come after this. So, for example, one common thing that we hear is as far as I know, or we can say as far as I can see. And this basically means this is what I know. Like, I don't know much, but I'm pretty sure. So, for example, okay, one's a Canadian flag and one's a Japanese flag. So which one's which? As far as I know, the Canadian flag has a maple leaf on it, so this is the Canadian flag. Okay, that's not a good example, sorry. Let me think of a better example. So let's see, how is the situation on COVID-19 going so far? Well, so as for COVID-19, as far as I know, the curve is flattened in BC. Okay, so, maybe that was a bit of a complicated sentence, slightly, sorry. So what I mean by this is, when COVID cases started happening in BC, they were going up, 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 like they were going way up. But now, finally, the COVID cases are starting to flatten. So it's not going up too much. So this is a curve. And the curve is starting to flatten, which is a good thing. Hooray! So, as far as I know. So basically, for me, I try to keep up with the news, but I don't know everything. But as far as I know, the curve for COVID-19 is flattening in British Columbia, here. As for the rest of the world, I cannot say. All right, so that is as far as I know. All right, so I'm gonna get rid of this, but I'll keep this example sentence up here for a little bit. Now, what's next? Immigrate. Okay, you might be able to guess what this means. Immigrant is a noun. So, immigrate. This is a verb. Immigrate. V for verb. Okay, so immigrate. Basically, it's the verb form of immigrant. It means to move from one country to another. So, to move from your home country, for example, let's say Korea, just for example, to another country. For example, Canada, why not? Come to Canada. So when you immigrate, usually it's a permanent basis. Like you're probably gonna stay here for the rest of your life. Probably, maybe not, but most likely. You're not here for vacation, you're not just visiting. You take your bags, your luggage, your family, everything, and you get a new home here. That is what to immigrate means. Yeah, and then Canada becomes your new home and you kind of, yeah, make your life here. All right, so, original. Original, what does that mean? So this is an adjective. So I keep thinking of like original flavored chips. So original basically is, okay, this is weird to describe without a noun. Okay, so original country, for example, is the country where you came from, like your home country, your mother country. So original, so I don't know, starting place, that's not a very good. Okay, you know what, I'm going to give an example sentence. I think that would be better than giving a definition. So, let's say, my original country of residence. My original country of residence, so kind of where I was born and raised, is Canada. So let's pretend I immigrated to another country. Maybe I immigrated to Germany, for example. My new home country would be Germany, but my original country of residence would be Canada. I hope that makes sense. Okay, so I'm gonna get rid of, as far as I know, down the bottom here, because I think we're done with that. Okay, and I think I'm gonna get rid of immigrate. All right, and let's do nation identity. Nation identity. All right. I don't believe this is a word I hear too often. I usually don't hear these two stuck together like this. But a nation identity is basically the country you identify with. Or maybe the country or nationality where you belong. Where you belong. So for example, I could say my nation identity is Canadian. But maybe I know somebody who was born and raised in Japan for the first 7 years of her life. Then she moved to Canada for 20 years. So maybe her nation identity is a bit different from mine. Sometimes she feels Japanese, but sometimes she feels Canadian. So maybe she has two nation identities. So yeah, how about you? Do you have one nation identity, or do you feel like you might have two or even three nation identities? Okay, next we have gain. Okay, this is a good word. This is a verb, gain. So to gain is similar to get or to obtain. You know where I hear this most often is about when people are talking about their weight. We talk about weight gain or gaining weight. So for example, the past year, I have definitely gained some weight, as happens when people get older sometimes, but whatever, that's life. So that's what gain means. It means to get or to obtain. All right. And I think I'm gonna get rid of original. All right, okay. Next, I'm not going to write this out because this is kind of long. And all right, so next we have that's how I understand it. So this is used when you're talking about an explanation of something. So, for example, maybe someone asks me, hey, Melanie, what does biodiversity mean? Biodiversity. So, well, as far as I know, remember from earlier, as far as I know, biodiversity is the study of life and the amount of different species you have in a single habitat. For example, the biodiversity of Canada is really rich. There are many animals. Well, that's how I understand it anyway. That's how I understand it. That's how I understand it. Understand it. So biodiversity is period. That's how I understand it. So it's basically an explanation at the end of it's blah, 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 blah. Sorry. This comes at the end of an explanation when you're talking to someone. All right. How are we doing, guys? 3 words left. Okay. 3 words, and then we're going to do our listening. So let's get rid of this. Let's get rid of gain. Okay, so next we have blend. Okay, so blend can be a noun or it can be a verb. So let's pretend we're using the noun form. So a blend is a mix of something. So, for example, today I went to Starbucks and I got myself a drink. So this drink was a blend of passion fruit, guava, and coconut milk. It was really good, actually. It was nice. So a blend is a mix of something. Okay, next we have whereas. Okay, so you might recognize this word because it's a good transitional phrase. Remember that? Transitional phrases. All right, so I'm going to give you an example sentence because it's kind of hard to explain this without an example sentence. Okay, so dogs are loyal and friendly, whereas cats are selfish and mean. Okay, this isn't true. Not all cats are selfish and mean. Okay, so it's almost, you use this when you're contrasting things. Apples, let's see. Actually, let's go with something sweeter. Mangoes are nice and sweet, while lemons are sour. Ooh. So whereas is used to contrast 2 different things. Okay, and last word, avoid. Okay, avoid, avoid, avoid. Okay, avoid. This is a good word. So this means to not do something. Basically, because something bad could happen if you do it. This is another good word, by the way, so I'm going to write it down, avoid, with a verb. So, for example, I avoid driving a car in downtown Vancouver because the traffic is awful and the parking is expensive. That's why I avoid driving in Vancouver. I take the bus and the SkyTrain. Public transit for life. So that's what avoid means. Okay, guys, so I think that's about it for the key vocabulary. Now, let's go over the comprehension questions before we do the listening. So I'm going to erase these words. If there were any words you didn't understand, though, please do let me know, and I'd be happy to go over them with you some more if need be. All right. So that's all done. All right, comprehension questions. Comprehension, that means understanding. Comprehension. Comprehension. Okay, we got 5 questions. Question number 1. When did Alan say, oh, I should tell you. Okay, so before I go over this, so the listening that we're going to be doing, it's talking about the melting pot and Mosaic. So in this listening activity, there are 2 people talking. One is named Kevin and one is named Alan. So there's 2 people and they're talking to each other. So that's why there is a person named Alan in these questions. Okay, so question number 1. When did Alan say he learned about the melting pot and Mosaic cultures? So when did he learn about this? So try to keep an ear out. Like, did he learn about it when he was a child, in school, living abroad, at work? So try to listen for that information, okay? Now, number 2. Which country is a melting pot country and which one is a Mosaic country? Okay, so the melting pot country is which country? And the Mosaic country is which country? So try to listen for which one is which. Okie doke. 2 countries are mentioned. Number 3. So I want you to explain why blank is a melting pot country. A melting pot. And why blank is a Mosaic country. Okay, so we got 2 country names here again. So you're going to need to get number 2 correct in order to get part of number 3 correct. All right, so number 3 is a long one. You have to A, fill in the blanks, and B, say why this country is a melting pot country and why this country is a Mosaic country. So you're gonna have to do a lot of note taking, okay? So be prepared to get your paper and pencil or open up Word and do a lot of typing. Well, not a lot, some typing. Okie doke. And number 4, how do you refer to someone from the U.S.? How do you refer to someone who immigrated to the U.S. from Brazil and someone who immigrated to Canada from Brazil? Okay, so someone who came from Brazil to the U.S. is called what? And someone who immigrated from Brazil to Canada is called. So listen to what they say. They have 2 different names, okay? And number 5, what does Alan say Kevin should avoid talking to his students about? This is going to come at the end of the listening, so listen close to the end, okay? All right, guys, so I think we are ready. So what we're going to do first is we're going to listen to the whole listening one time, and then we're going to try and listen to it in smaller chunks and answer the questions, okay? All right, are you guys ready? So we are going to start this listening exercise in a few seconds. Here we go. Get ready in 3, 2, 1.
Hey, Alan. When students ask you about the differences between Canada and the USA, what do you usually tell them?
Yeah, people ask me that question all the time, but I don't always know what to say. One of the differences I remember learning in university is that the US is a melting pot country and Canada is a mosaic country.
Oh yeah, the melting pot culture versus the mosaic culture. Wait, which one's which?
Well, as far as I remember, the States is a melting pot culture because all of the people from other countries who immigrate there become American, while the people who immigrate to Canada keep their original national identity and gain a Canadian one too.
Right. So it's like if I come from Brazil and immigrate to the States, I am American. But if I immigrate to Canada, I'm Brazilian Canadian. Is that right?
Yeah, that's how I understand it. The melting pot is like a big soup of cultures. Different nationalities all blended together to create one big culture. Whereas the mosaic is like a painting made up of several individual colors. You can still see each national identity, but together they create a big culture painting.
So the USA is like a culture soup and Canada is like a painting. That's why they call them a melting pot and mosaic culture. Nice. I think that's a good thing to tell students.
Yeah, just make sure to avoid talking about Donald Trump.
Okay, guys, so that was the listening. All right, hopefully it wasn't too fast. I think it was a good speed. So now I'd like to answer number 1 and number 2. So I'm just gonna play the first little bit of the listening, and I would like you to try and get the answers down, okay? All right, so here we go. We're gonna do number 1 and number 2.
Hey, Alan. When students ask you about the differences between Canada and the USA, what do you usually tell them?
Yeah, people ask me that question all the time, but I don't always know what to say. One of the differences I remember learning in university is that the US is a melting pot country and Canada is a mosaic country.
All right, so did you guys get that? All right, so number 1, when did Alan say he learned about the melting pot and the mosaic cultures? When did he learn about them? So he learned about them in blank. So type out your answers. And which country is the melting pot? Which country is the mosaic? So I'm gonna play the first part one last time, and hopefully you can grab the answers, okay? So this is your last chance. Here we go in 3, 2, 1.
Hey, Alan. When students ask you about the differences between Canada and the USA, what do you usually tell them?
Yeah, people ask me that question all the time, but I don't always know what to say. One of the differences I remember learning in university is that the US is a melting pot country and Canada is a mosaic country.
All right, guys. So please write your answers for number 1 and for number 2. I'll give you a moment to do that while I take some more water. I'm very thirsty today. Oh. Okie dokie. All right. So any thoughts, guys? What do you think? Number 1. So, when did Alan learn about the melting pot culture and the mosaic cultures? Someone say university. Thank you. That's right. He learned about them in university. Good. Actually, that's when I learned about the mosaic and the melting pot cultures too. All right, so next, which country is the melting pot and which country is the mosaic? All right, so somebody said the United States is the melting pot. Good. The United States, or you could just say the US, that's totally fine. And that means Canada is the mosaic. Good. Right on, Canada. All right, so we got our 2 countries defined. Melting pot, USA. Mosaic, Canada. Now here comes the trickier part. This is where you're really gonna have to listen and probably maybe take some notes. All right, so explain why blank is a melting pot and why blank is a mosaic. So I think we figured this out. So why the United States? Good. Why the US is a melting pot, and why Canada is a mosaic. All right. So, yeah, why? So I think what we'll do is I'm going to just play number 3, and I'm also going to play number 4, all right? So, here we go. Get ready in 3, 2, 1.
Oh yeah, the melting pot culture versus the mosaic culture. Wait, which one's which?
Well, as far as I remember, the States is a melting pot culture because all the people from other countries who immigrate there become American, while the people who immigrate to Canada keep their original national identity and gain a Canadian one too.
Right. So it's like, if I come from Brazil and immigrate to the States, I am American. But if I immigrate to Canada, I'm Brazilian Canadian? Is that right?
Yeah, that's how I understand it.
All right, so that was number 3 and number 4. So, did you guys understand why the US is a melting pot culture and why Canada is a mosaic? Did you guys get the answer? And how about people from Brazil who immigrate to the United States? What do they become, or what are they called? And people from Brazil who immigrate to Canada, what are they called? All right, so I'm gonna play this part again because it is a bit of a longer part. So, once again, try to take some notes if you can. Why is the US a melting pot and why is Canada a mosaic? So here we go, once again, in 3, 2, 1.
Oh yeah, the melting pot culture versus the mosaic culture. Wait, which one's which?
Well, as far as I remember, the States is a melting pot culture because all the people from other countries who immigrate there become American, while the people who immigrate to Canada keep their original national identity and gain a Canadian one too.
Right. So it's like, if I come from Brazil and immigrate to the States, I am American. But if I immigrate to Canada, I'm Brazilian Canadian? Is that right?
Yeah, that's how I understand it.
Okay, so how did we do, guys? All right, so why is the US a melting pot country? Did you guys get any answers for that? Why is the United States a melting pot country? It's a melting pot country because... Any thoughts? Anybody? I know this is a bit of a longer answer. Okay, so maybe I'll do this one last time. Just the US and Canada part. I'm not going to do the Brazil part, just the United States and the Canada part. So listen real closely. Or if you know the answer already, just feel free to type it out. Okay, the last chance. Here we go.
Yeah, the melting pot culture versus the mosaic culture. Wait, which one's which?
Well, as far as I remember, the States is a melting pot culture because all the people from other countries who immigrate there become American, while the people who immigrate to Canada keep their original national identity and gain a Canadian one too.
Okay, guys, so type out your answers. Very last chance to do question number 3. Why is the US a melting pot? All right, I'm gonna start off. So, the US is a melting pot culture because of all the people. Imagine all the people. So all the people from other countries, still not seeing any responses yet. who immigrate there, you can keep sending your answer in. Who immigrate. So people who immigrate to the US become, what do they become? American. Heck yeah. They become American. All right. So the US is a melting pot culture because of all the people from other countries who immigrate there. They all become American. Just one identity. They all melt into an American identity. Whereas Canada, feel free to throw in your answers if you like. So people who immigrate to Canada, on the other hand, they keep their original, okay, here's a good use of original identity. So for example, if someone is immigrating from Japan to Canada, they still keep their Japanese identity. But, original national identity. Sorry, their original national identity. National identity. And not just that, and they gain a new one too. They gain a Canadian one. Gain a Canadian one too. So that's the main difference. So that is why America is called a melting pot. Everyone just becomes American. Whereas in Canada, you still have your original national identity, but you also get your Canadian identity. Okay, so how does that make someone who immigrates from Brazil to America different compared to someone who immigrates from Brazil to Canada? So you're gonna listen closely. I'm just gonna play this part once, okay? So here we go. This is number 4, talking about Brazil identity. Okay, so here we go. In 3, 2, 1.
Right. So it's like, if I come from Brazil and immigrate to the States, I am American. But if I immigrate to Canada, I'm Brazilian Canadian. Is that right?
Yeah, that's how I understand it.
Okay. So get your answers in now. Don't delay, write in today. So someone who comes from Brazil to the United States, they are called, it starts with an A. Someone who comes from Brazil to Canada, they are called, starts with a B and then dash C. What do you guys think? All right, let me just take one last swig. All right, I'm seeing some answers and we got American, thank you. So someone who immigrates from Brazil to the US becomes simply American. While if you immigrate to Canada, you become, thank you, Brazilian Canadian. So you kind of have two identities. Brazilian Canadian. Canadian. Nice. Okay. Okay, so now last question. This is a very short answer. Should be pretty easy. It's the last sentence. What does Alan say Kevin should avoid talking to his students about? Don't talk to your students about. Okay, so listen, this will be at the very end. Here we go.
The melting pot is like a big soup of cultures. Different nationalities all blended together to create one big culture. Whereas the mosaic is like a painting made up of several individual colors. You can still see each national identity, but together they create a big culture painting.
So the USA is like a culture soup and Canada is like a painting. That's why they call them a melting pot and mosaic culture. Nice. I think that's a good thing to tell students.
Yeah, just make sure to avoid talking about Donald Trump.
All right, so what did Alan say? He said, just make sure to avoid talking about who? What person? He's very famous in the news. Okay, I'll play the last part just one last time.
Students.
Yeah, just make sure to avoid talking about Donald Trump.
All right, don't talk about. Go ahead, get your answers in. I'll erase this in the meantime. Okay. So I think that last one was one of the easiest answers. Should be able to guess it, hopefully. All right, so that's done. There we go. Avoid talking about Donald Trump. Thank you. Nice. Just make sure to avoid talking about Donald Trump. Because he has funny, not great opinions on immigrants. So not a very good topic to talk about when we're talking about melting pot and mosaics. Nice. Okay, so that is our listening. We only have about 3 minutes left, so I think for the last 3 minutes what we can do is just quickly go over the discussion questions. So I think let's do discussion question number 2. I think that would be good. Discussion question number 2. Is your country more like a melting pot or mosaic? What do you think? So is your country's, is it similar to America where it's a melting pot, or is it similar to a mosaic? So you can type in your answers, let me know. Obviously, because I'm from Canada, we have the mosaic culture, as this whole listening exercise talked about. While we do have a lot of immigrants from various countries, we don't really just combine it into one Canadian identity, but we have that mosaic of various identities. Like we have Indo-Canadians, like folks who immigrated from India to Canada. They still have their Indian identity and a Canadian identity. We have Korean Canadians, Chinese Canadians, Japanese Canadians. What else? Oh, we got quite a few. Mexican Canadians, Brazilian Canadians, etc., etc. Okay. So what about your country? Don't be shy and let me know. And let's do question number 3. Have you ever considered emigrating to another country? Which ones and why? So have you ever considered moving to another country? Have you ever wanted to immigrate? So first off, you could say yes, or you could say no. So for me, yes, I have considered immigrating to another country. I once considered moving to Japan because I really wanted to try living somewhere new. Didn't work out in the end though, and I'm here in Canada, but that's okay. I'm pretty happy with it. Okay guys, so we are coming up to the end of our lesson today. So I'd like to thank you very much for tuning in and participating. And just a reminder to get your dictation submitted for tomorrow. That would be lovely. I believe Alan will be teaching you tomorrow, so that's all you're going to see of me this week. I'll be back on Tuesday to teach y'all again, so I guess that's when I'll see you. I hope you all have a lovely weekend, and we'll see you on Tuesday. Bye-bye.